Hi, welcome again to another episode, if you like, of Meet a Palm. So what we're doing with this is we're meeting people who have engaged in Palm's program of skill development at the request of communities overseas who are looking to develop people's capacity to manage their own development into the future and to be self-reliant and sustainable in that. Have with me today Jamie Drew, and Jamie came to us in, I don't remember the year, Jamie, but I remember I was in Melbourne and your parents were at the meeting as well, and you came along, and I think you were all off to a wedding after that.
Yeah, that's right. I think mid 2018.
Yeah, right. So you were about, I suspect, the youngest person in the room.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Which is always pleasing for us to see people who at a younger age consider that this is an option. Many of ours are coming after retirement, and then the average age of people we send away is probably in late 50s now. That might surprise some people because I think Palms initially would be sending people away in your age bracket more, but it has moved over the years. So what does it take for a person such as yourself, meeting that sort of a profile, to become interested in doing this work?
I guess through my search of finding truth in my life and figuring out what makes me happy and that kind of thing, like a big part of that became wanting to help other people, and just doing things that are wholesome and good, and a little bit of adventure was sought by me, and I'd looked at these volunteering things in the past as a way to experience some new things and to hopefully feel good about what I'm doing while I'm experiencing those things. And then quite by chance, my parents told me, well, they offered if I wanted to come along to this information session with you in Melbourne. And from there, I was quite hooked. It just sounded like a really good idea. And yeah, I don't know, a thirst for adventure and experience and that kind of thing.
And one thing followed another, and we ended up finding that a request we had in Pathein in Myanmar met some of the skills that you have, and you would be able to share. Tell us a little about how you felt when you heard that we had a placement that might suit you, and that it was in Myanmar, which is we'd never actually sent anyone to Myanmar in recent years anyway, and Myanmar was just opening up to some degree to allow foreigners to visit the country. How did that sort of sit with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was basically so the request was not exactly what I had to offer. So I was a little bit apprehensive that it would happen, and then when it did happen, basically I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
I was looking at that place in particular, perhaps because of the adventurous side, but also I've been quite interested in Asian culture for quite some time. And yeah, I mean, it was an unopened country for so long, and I was able to go and experience it.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that struck me about Myanmar when I went to scope the placements beforehand, that various organisations were interested in having people come to help them, was the fact that this was a country of such diverse people. I mean, diverse religions and cultures, and that had caused some difficulties over the years. But there seemed to be a resolve in most of the organisations we spoke to that they could work together collaboratively and get some great results out of their diversity. How did that look to you when you got there?
Yeah, I mean, people were quite happy to work together. I was staying at the monastery, I guess. Well, it was a clerical building, and often there would be Buddhist monks coming to visit and have lunch. and have a discussion about working together for the community with the priests. So that was really good to see. And I mean, there's a lot of surface tension as well. People just saying off the cuff, like, I'm not going to go to that shop because it's run by blah, 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 that kind of thing. But I think fundamentally, they would work together. Yeah, they would generally work together for sure. Yeah.
Look, I think that there's some that would happily work together and be, sort of given some enthusiasm for it by the fact that they learn something from someone else. But there'd be others, of course, who are a bit closed and maybe say, oh no, yes, they're not of my type, so I stay away.
Yeah.
And it's
but
like,
I think when there was opportunity involved for a new experience or to achieve something, to build something, people would work together regardless.
Yeah. What was kind of some of the challenging things and the rewarding things that you were able to do while you were there?
Okay. Well, challenges first, I guess. I did feel quite isolated. I was, as is not traditional with palms, I was in a placement by myself. Which, I mean, like, I had to censor myself a lot of the time, so I couldn't always clear my head with all my worries and that kind of thing. Communicating with home helped with that a lot. But sometimes I just had to sit with what I was thinking and kind of deal with it myself. So that was quite challenging. And just the language barrier, that was also quite challenging. And the cultural differences, like, you have to basically go in with no expectations and realize that everybody else is going to have a lot of expectation of you, and just kind of try and be flexible. But I guess, there's so many rewarding things. I experienced probably the best year of my life, I would have to say, over there. Like, I grew as a person tremendously, and just the amount of sheer experience, like novel experience that I got was crazy good. But I guess having students come up to you and really, like, you can tell that they want to be your friend and like they respect you and they want your opinion on this or that or asking you for advice. And they also want your experience. They want to hear about what you know about the world, which I was, I don't know. It was very humbling to share that, because I mean, some of the things that I told them, like my experience of the world, some of them will never be able to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things our partner organisations and communities often say is that they love getting kind of the skills, but what they really want is this global perspective that comes from someone who's come to them from outside of their own community, so that they get a kind of world view that helps them to appreciate the rest of the world. Yeah,
definitely.
And
it was really hard to try and not focus too much on the glamour, like sometimes the stories that we tell in our culture are all about like these amazing glamorous experiences that we've had, but I didn't want to paint too much of a difference in terms of what we are able to achieve and what they are. So I
No, they're going to completely understand that. That's good practice, and otherwise, creating unfulfillable expectations in communities that really are, struggling for the resources just to manage their everyday lives. Often, it can be it's fraught. Yeah. Look, I come back to the challenges too. I mean, clearly, one of the things that you say, you have to sit with things on your own, and this is too because of the fact that you are a person there of a culture different from everybody else. So not everybody, you can't talk to people who don't really kind of get where you're coming from. We do as much as we can to kind of give them an expectation who it is they're going to receive. So you've done something fairly remarkable in many ways, because a number of the places that we send people to, they've already had someone, they've already hosted a person. They already kind of get now a little bit more about how they can do that more effectively. So you walked into a new place where they hadn't hosted people. What did you find was what helped you most to meet some of those challenges? Or who, were there people that you were able to seek out and get some kind of solace from in the challenging times?
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess initially I was immediately kind of, there was a driver, right, Justin, who became a good friend. And so he was a driver for one of the priests and just the priests in general. And yeah, they kind of just put me with him every now and then, and then he would come and seek me out, and we'd have a few drinks, go and have a few snacks and nibbles, and just talk. And he was quite good at English and quite a good talker and quite a showman as well.
Yeah,
It was
right.
very entertaining. So that was good to kind of release release my angst.
Yeah.
And then
we do suggest is that you kind of find a local you can trust. To kind of get an understanding, a better understanding, you can explore what's going on in the culture, what's going on in that community. So that sounds like a bonus. Yeah.
I actually visited his parents' house and met his wife and his child, and we were pretty good friends. And then eventually I actually sought out one of the priests. So
Okay.
Father Florence was one of my, I guess, kind of mentors into the country. And initially, because they're priests, I don't want to kind of share my problems so much. But then I'm like, actually, because they're priests, you should be able to share your problems with them.
That's what they could do for me.
Yeah. So it took me a little while to realize that he was a really good kind of moral support for me. And I mean, he's studied at the Vatican, he's studied in the US. So he's not just purely local in his ideology. So speaking to him a couple of times, he accepted what I said, and he gave me some really good advice, basically.
Yeah, because you don't practice Catholic faith or anything like that, but they accepted you into that community still, and were happy to engage you in that way. It's pretty broad-minded, and I guess, as you say, because he's had that worldly experience, he kind of got that this was.
Yeah. They were immensely supportive of me, to be honest. Yeah.
Great. Okay. In terms of the work you were doing and the things that you enjoyed in that, and working alongside people, how did that pan out? What happened that you thought was really positive in that area, and what things would you kind of avoid if you did it all over again?
I guess what I would try to avoid is spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
I know you want to kind of go and experience everything and help everywhere and do as much as you possibly can. But I was involved in about 3 kind of areas for about half of the time, and then half of the time I was predominantly teaching. But for example, the permaculture projects that I was hoping to work on more, I never got the time to really get my hands stuck, like to get stuck into that. And I was doing 2 of them as well. So doing 2 of them and then teaching English at the office and then teaching IT at the school was just a little bit too thin. And I wish that I'd kind of focused on one of them more. And they wanted me at the school, so that became the main focus. Yeah. Sorry, what was the other questions?
Was there someone you worked alongside that you felt you not only had good rapport with, but they appreciated you working alongside them and sort of gaining some insight into the skills that take them forward?
Oh yeah, definitely. So a lot of the report writing at the KMSS office. KMSS is the local version of Caritas. So they had to write reports to their donors in English.
Yeah.
So quite often I would read reports and correct them and kind of say, well, they're not asking for this information. They're asking for this, just because the question was a little bit, I guess, legal specific. So it was a bit confusing. So no, there was quite a few people like that. And when I ran my classes at the school, I'd often get the teachers from, so I was running IT, and all the different classes would send their students to me once a week, and quite often the teachers would come and learn from me as well. And I had two assistant teachers that they really wanted to learn the English from me, and it was really good, and I felt quite humble that people were respecting me so much and thinking that I had so much skill.
Right. And I mean, that is often a case. I mean, people come away from placement saying, look, I don't really know what I taught anybody. I do know I learned a hell of a lot myself, but I'm kind of wondering whether they really got much out of me. You know, you have that feeling from time to time. Like I'm enjoying.
I definitely have that feeling. Yes. But I still get messages from a lot of people from Myanmar, and it's now been a year since I was there. So I would have just finished my 2-year contract if coronavirus didn't happen. And I think I might have stayed there for good, maybe. I don't even know.
Second year is often the year that people say, well, this is when I really started to kind of come into my own, and people really started to know who I was and what I had to offer, and extract from me the ideas that they were going to be able to take forward, you know, after I'd gone home. So that must have been something of a disappointment to kind of realize go on to the second year.
So in the IT classes, I had these amazing plans to spend the first semester of 2020 teaching audio visual, like capturing and editing. And I mean, like, TikTok's huge over there, so like all the girls that want to do all the dancing and the K-pop, you know, routines, they were all really into it. And then all the boys that are playing soccer, you know, they want to film themselves and make cool soccer videos. And then there was a whole lot of intellectual people, and this is where I wanted to, I mean, I shouldn't separate them like that, but there was more academic type people, and this is where I wanted to focus on doing documentaries of Pathein, and getting a real kind of recorded history of, like, colloquially, like verbal, just people on the street or people that they knew, and get that recorded. Because I watched a very heartbreaking documentary about this poet, a local poet, and during the last kind of 50 years, he'd been put in jail over and over and over, and he had somehow, his children had been sent to the US somehow. I can't remember how that was achieved, but so he missed all their growing up. He wasn't allowed out of the country, and just because he would write poetry that had thought-provoking ideas. So I really wanted to get some more of those sort of stories.
I mean, that story can assist change and understanding, and actually, it doesn't matter what it is that people are wanting to video. What they're going to do when they do want something is to learn how to do it, which is so it provides the sort of means by which people come to learn something. So it's actually a technique that teachers are seeking out all the time. What is it that this person wants to do? How then do I build in the skills? So you've done remarkably well to identify that. So do you keep in touch? I think you mentioned you do perhaps have some contact, and how do you think things are going for people there at the moment, or what do you perceive?
It's pretty heart-wrenching at the moment. but I have about 200 Myanmar friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
So and there's a whole lot of friend requests, and I can't identify who they are, so I'm not
Yeah.
adding all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just this week, one of my ex-students has sent me videos and photos of the protests and asking me to tell the world
Right.
what's happening
Yeah.
there, and it's a bit intriguing that the world isn't being told as much as what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit sad as well. It seems kind of like they've gone back into their isolation period.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that,
It does.
yeah.
It does. Sadly, you know, we would hope to re-engage there with people and you know, give them that kind of outside perspective again. But it's very difficult in the current circumstances. If we were to get to that point, are you still kind of, you know, enthusiastic about that engagement, or have you moved on and there are other things that you have to kind of do as a young person evolving in your own culture?
Um, I mean, I wish I had more time. Um, I definitely plan to go back,
Hmm.
whether it's with Palms or on my own
Yeah.
dollar. I'm not sure yet. Um, at the moment, I'm just setting up a business, and I think I need to spend a year or two establishing that
Yep.
before I consider returning again. And this is something that I was when I went to Myanmar, when I engaged Palms initially. This was I was at a crossroads then, and so when I've returned back, I was once again at the crossroads, and I didn't really work on anything much for the first couple of months because I thought coronavirus would be over, and I would be back over there.
Yeah.
But then September comes around, and I'm realizing, you know, I've been back 5 or 6 months. I've got to actually start
Yeah.
seeing this as the new normal, as they say, and just moving forward with what I can. So I guess my plan at the moment is to make some money and take it back to Myanmar and try and make a bit more of a material impact
Yeah.
as well as a skills impact. I hope.
None of us know where we're going and when, for the present time. So, I mean, I think you've done remarkably well to sit with the uncertainty to some degree, but realize too that it's obvious that you do need to do something that keeps you alive and going forward. And yeah, that's completely understandable. So, I guess, you know, I'm really pleased to have this opportunity for you to share that. And yeah, thank you very much. If there's anything final you just want to add to what it is that this was all about for you, go for it.
Oh, I had written a few things.
Great.
I was just some of the things that I put down. The importance of journaling to kind of get through the hard times, to kind of verbalize to yourself your thoughts, and just to be flexible, basically, and definitely look after yourself both physically and mentally. I think having a gym close by. So I was very lucky in that regards, in terms of Palms placements. I don't think many of them have a gym just down the road. So I was there maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And that was a really big help. And all the people in the gym, they were quite lovely as well, and quite talkative. And I guess, did you want me to show something?
Yes, we did ask.
So
something you had from your time there.
So this was actually my Burmese teacher gave this as a present to my mum and dad.
Okay.
So this is a traditional, it's a tourist one, but Pathein is known for their umbrellas.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's the umbrella manufacturer of Myanmar, and
Okay.
so this is very local, and the way that they do it is quite intricate, and it's all
Oh yeah.
woven. You know, there's no hinges or anything. Well, I mean, there's bamboo hinges. There's no plastic bits.
Yeah.
So it's quite cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I've got some little painting postcards as well.
Right.
This was a local artist
Oh,
And
right.
I just really love the style.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, great, isn't it? It's very much Myanmar style. I've seen this. It's beautiful. I love it. We've actually
yeah,
got
yeah. And it's
similar
very much
hanging
the
in.
culture, like their houses are made exactly like that.
Yep. Yep.
Still, still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've got photos as well, but maybe I can send them to you and you can show them separately.
Yeah, sure. That's yeah, that'd be good because people do ask for stuff when we're in the preparation phase, and particularly as they're anticipating their arrival in a place. They kind of think, "Oh, what's it like? Really? I want to see inside this and that and the other." So that would be great. We'll look forward to getting them. Jamie, thank you for being available today with your time, and
You're welcome.
you're in lockdown at the moment, so I'm
Yeah. Yes.
impacting you, but you've got another week living in Victoria there. And
Well, I'm house sitting for my parents at the moment, so it just basically means I can't go home for a few extra days.
okay, all
Yeah.
right. Okay, Jamie, thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, bye.